Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to demystify one of the most confusing expenses for any business, the real cost of managed IT services. We'll break down exactly how much you should be paying, what that money really buys you, and maybe most importantly, the red flags that tell you you're about to get ripped off.
Let's start with this idea, because it really gets to the heart of the matter. In today's world, your tech isn't just some tool you use. It's like the central nervous system for your entire company. So thinking of protecting it as some kind of optional expense, well, that's a huge mistake. And honestly, it's one we see businesses make all the time.
And if you need to see the why in hard numbers, here it is. This staggering figure from IBM shows the average cost of a single data breach is almost $5 million. Now, that's not just some inconvenience, right? For a lot of businesses, that's a number that can wipe out years of profit overnight. It can literally become an existential threat.
Okay, so before we even get into what the service costs, let's talk about the immense cost of the problem it solves. Because believe me, the second your technology fails, a very, very expensive clock starts ticking.
And this number, wow, it really puts that ticking clock into perspective. We're talking an average of $427 per minute that your small business is offline. Think about that. It's not just about lost sales. It's payroll you're wasting, it's projects that are completely stalled, and it's your customers' confidence just eroding. Every single minute is literally money walking right out the door.
Okay, so now that we all understand the risk, what exactly is the solution we're talking about? Because managed services isn't just another term for outsourced IT. It's a completely different way of thinking about how you manage the tech that runs your business.
So for years and years, the way most businesses did it was what we call break-fix. You know the drill. You wait for a server to crash or the network to go down, and then you frantically call someone for an expensive emergency repair. Well, managed services completely flips that script. Instead, you pay a predictable, flat monthly fee to a team whose entire job is to stop those problems from ever happening in the first place. It's a total shift from being reactive to being proactive.
Right. So it's absolutely crucial to understand that a good managed IT plan isn't just a help desk you call when your printer's jammed. No way. It's a complete, holistic system. We're talking about the team managing your servers and your cloud stuff, the experts setting up your firewalls and security, the system that guarantees your data is backed up and safe, and the strategic advisors who help you plan your tech for the future. It's the whole shebang.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. The question on everyone's mind: what does this stuff actually cost? I know the pricing can feel a little opaque from the outside, but there are actually some really clear benchmarks that'll help you figure out what's a fair price.
So the most common way you'll see this priced is per user per month. And that's great because it makes your costs really predictable as your team grows or shrinks. The tiers usually start with an essential plan, covering the basics like the help desk and monitoring. Then you move up to more premium tiers that add in things like advanced security tools and maybe even access to a SOC. That's a security operations center, which is basically a dedicated team of cybersecurity pros watching your back.
Okay, now this table, this is your sanity check. I want you to use these numbers as a benchmark when you're looking at proposals. So for example, if you're a 30-person company and you get a quote for like $1,000 a month, something's probably wrong. They're likely skipping critical security layers. On the flip side, if that quote comes in at $30,000 a month, you're probably being way overcharged. This helps you find that realistic sweet spot right in the middle.
So you're probably looking at those ranges and thinking, wow, that's a huge gap. And you're right. Why can two companies with the exact same number of employees get wildly different quotes? Well, let's break down the 4 key things that really drive that final price.
The most important thing to get here is that your final price tag really comes down to your specific business needs. So, for example, if you're in a heavily regulated industry like healthcare, you have to deal with HIPAA compliance. That's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Or maybe you're running some really complex, old legacy software. Well, your costs are going to be higher, and justifiably so, than a standard office with just the basic needs.
All right, let's really zoom in on security for a minute, because this is almost always the single biggest variable in what you'll pay. You see, basic protection is a given these days, but real, effective cybersecurity, it's built in layers. And of course, each one of those layers adds to the investment.
So the first big layer up from just basic antivirus is something called EDR, or Endpoint Detection and Response. And here's the best way to think about it. Your antivirus, that's like a lock on your front door. But EDR, that's the high-tech security system that detects a super sophisticated burglar who's already picked the lock, and then it analyzes exactly how they got in. For what's usually a pretty small extra cost per person, it is a massive, massive upgrade in your protection.
Okay, so the next level up from that is called managed detection and response. Now, this is a big step. This adds a 24/7 team of actual human security experts who are actively hunting for threats inside your network. Now look, it's a significant investment, for sure, but for any business that handles sensitive financial data or personal information, this is often the price you have to pay for true peace of mind.
All right, now let's completely reframe this whole conversation. We've been talking a lot about cost, right? But the smartest way to look at this is as an investment. So let's take a look at the actual return you get on that investment.
This comparison right here is incredibly powerful. Just think about it. Hiring one junior in-house IT person, once you factor in salary and benefits, you're easily looking at over $85,000 a year. But for less than that, a 30-person company can get access to an entire team of specialists. You're talking experts in security, in networking, in the cloud, all through a managed service provider. The value is just, it's not even close.
But you know what? Those direct cost savings, that's only half the story. The real return on investment, the much bigger part, is actually invisible. It's measured in all the catastrophic disasters that don't happen because you had the right team and the right protections in place.
And this chart really shows why that's so important. A single security incident, it's not just one cost. It is a devastating financial waterfall. First, you've got the immediate cost from all that downtime. Then come the fees for recovery and digital forensics. After that, you could be facing huge regulatory fines. And finally, there's the long-term, sometimes impossible to measure damage to your brand and your customers' trust. It just cascades. Okay, so you're armed with all this knowledge about costs, value, and ROI. How do you actually go out and pick the right partner? Let's walk through a simple, really practical framework to help you make a smart decision.
You know, the single biggest mistake people make is they just line up the proposals and pick the one with the lowest monthly price tag. A much smarter way to do it involves these 4 steps. First, insist that everyone quotes on the exact same specs so you're actually comparing apples to apples. And really dig into those service level agreements. Look, a cheap price is absolutely worthless if they take 24 hours to call you back when your whole system is down. Doing this homework is what separates finding a true partner from just hiring another vendor. And last but not least, as you're looking at different providers, please keep an eye out for these huge red flags. A price that seems way too good to be true? It almost always is. It usually means they're understaffed or they're hiding a bunch of fees they'll hit you with later. Vague promises like, "we respond quickly," and an unwillingness to let you talk to their current clients, those are massive signs that you should just turn around and walk away.
So, in the end, the question I want to leave you with is this. Is your technology an accelerator for your business, or is it an anchor that's holding you back? Because the goal here isn't just to find the cheapest IT support you can. The real goal is to find a strategic partner who can turn your technology from a potential liability into a genuine competitive advantage.